Welcome back to the analysis desk, everybody. Third quarterfinal coming your way in a couple of seconds. Joining me on the desk this time, we have 2 Americans and 2 Brits. Brendan?
Yeah.
Valdez?
Yeah, I think that's about it.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
Australians are kind of Brits, aren't they?
Kinda.
You got to show them your confidence face.
I think
F off. Please do.
We haven't seen the confidence face today.
Apollo.
You had a good 15 seconds to think about what you were
Apollo.
going to say.
I think in the past 200 years,
There it is.
we can not call ourselves British people anymore. I think we are actually Australians,
Ladies.
ladies.
Thank you for joining me, guys. We do have another great game at hand. It is viOlet versus Snute. Snute against a Korean. We've heard that many times over the last couple of years, and we're going to see it again now.
He's made a career out of it, taking big Korean scalps. Even in this matchup, Snute ZvZ is quite sick, but viOlet's been on a tear, man. It's going to be rough.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. How are we looking at this? Is there a massive favorite?
I have like optimism PTSD right now. Like every underdog where I'm like, they have a chance. They've just been getting smote today.
Yeah.
Like, it's just been bad.
But this one's a closer one,
This
right?
is closer, and I would even say, I guess viOlet would be the underdog. I think. I really do. I think Snute has the better achievements. Yeah, and viOlet actually, not too long ago, wasn't he one of the ones that tripped up against even Bly, or was that Hydra? No, it was both him.
Yeah,
It was both
Hydra.
Hydra.
They both
Yeah.
tripped up at
So,
DreamHack.
you know, there's decent recent results to say Snute probably is the favorite, but this is certainly the closer matchup. Like, Nurchio Huck was on paper a giant versus, you know, a little guy, and we were all... I did not. That's not what I'm saying.
Come on, Jeff.
Nope. I don't take credit for that one. But the point is, like, Huck has a ton of fans, myself included, where we were like, yeah, he's got a chance. After that series, it's like, oh, no, not for a while. He's got to do something different. This one is a lot closer.
And we're molding up to kind of shape the second semi for tomorrow now. And the first one's great. I mean, we've got Pult versus Nurchio, and that's a great game there.
Can't wait
This
for that
one, though, we're starting to shape it up, though. Who is it going to be? We'll take a quick look at the bracket then, as we can see exactly where we are so far in the tournament. The round of 32 and round of 16 are gone. It is now the 8-player bracket. First semi is up, and now it is a fight between 4 Zergs for 2 spots to play in the Spodek Arena tomorrow. Big stage, big competition, and a big shot at the global final. I mean, that was terrible.
It's been long.
I
should say big
It's like
more
hour
often.
50-something of broadcast.
I was like,
I
I hit it good. That one was off, and I was like, oh, that was bad.
And we're done. Yeah. No, I am pumped though. Pult Nurchio's huge. We got a Polish guy in that Spodek Stadium. At least we're guaranteed. Laser's still fighting for it, but also Pult. So much tradition, so much history, and not a Zerg player, so it'll be really interesting that way as well. But then we're guaranteed a ZvZ here, and actually even that's kind of cool. We got Snute, the foreigner, you know, Hope, one of the guys that, as you said, has made a career off of taking out these Koreans. But then also a Laser who has been. Can we get this guy some more ZvZs? Like, it's like qualifying for this through 8 guys, and now in this tournament, I believe this will be his 2nd or 3rd ZvZ. And if he wins this, he'll go into a 4th of 5 rounds. Like, it's like, he's like, this is fantastic. Zerg's doing great.
Good thing he's good at the matchup.
Yeah, I mean, he's cashing in on it in a big way. So, some cool storylines for sure. We're a little bit, we grieve our brothers from Ire. It's too bad there's no Protoss that punctured in deeper into this tournament, but it's going to be fun.
All right, one thing I like to think about with this, because viOlet, I like to think is a very good all-round player, but Snute, especially in the European scene, there's so many good Zerg players that they're able to bounce the Zerg versus Zerg around quite a bit and kind of train each other up. That must be an edge coming into this, surely. I mean, you've got Nurchio in Europe, you've got a Laser in Europe, you've got the recent Vortex returning. They're all going to be playing against each other on the ladder and starting to improve themselves, and especially with the
Laser,
Zerg dominance.
Bly's been having good ZvZ results.
So surely, I mean, Snute technically must be well practiced for this.
I believe they both are.
What do you think?
Yeah, I think they're both going to be really like as Jeff is saying, definitely need to have a ZvZ under your belt if you're going to make it anywhere close to the end here. I mean, it's possible that they go through the round of 8 here with the ZvZ, and then a round of 4 with the ZvZ, and then if we have Nurchio win on the opposite, another ZvZ possibly.
Please.
So
yeah,
if you're not good at ZvZ, you might as well drop out now. I'm getting passionate about ZvZ guys.
So final question then before predictions. Snoot's played twice today. Is that an advantage or disadvantage?
I like this question.
That's a hard one,
See,
actually.
this is the analyst test. You're not supposed to ask actually good questions.
Not
like,
just
wow.
a good host.
You're bringing it back, Sean.
I guess you don't need to cast at all. Like, you are actually really good at this.
Yeah.
I
answer
think
the
it's
question.
better for him. Like if this was in China or something crazy where Snute had to travel a lot, I think this would be really bad. I've been harping on that a little bit throughout this tournament. That's actually a big deal. Travel's a big deal. So for Snute, I don't think so. I think it should be okay. A lot of players would even tell you it's better to play because it gets the butterflies out. They feel more warmed up. It's kind of what they do in between, and I'm sure Snute's over in the player area just cranking out games, probably with the Dr. Dari himself.
All right, then. Predictions. We all love our predictions.
This might be the hardest prediction yet.
Yeah, this is the closest one, I think.
It's really, really close. I think it's going to be a 3-2 for Snute, probably. I'm going to throw it to Snute. I think he's got it here. I think he's
Stronger player. Why?
Maybe better in the matchup. I'm really not sure where viOlet is standing right now. I mean, he's on a tear, but I was betting on Huck in the last one because he was on a tear, and that didn't really work out for me, did
It's
it?
been the day of all right, bad.
Who are you going for, Maynard,
Well,
and why?
the curse of being in this particular spot on the panel, because you always start over here, is that I actually do want to go 3-2 Snute. I'm not actually echoing Brendan.
This is the third
here.
time this has happened.
It is, but I think this is because I actually like that he's been on stage already. He's been in the booth. He's got a feel of the crowd, and he's got a feel of that atmosphere. And I mean, he's been on stage 1,000 times before, and probably 1,000 times again. And this is probably his strongest matchup, I think. So I think that he's going to actually 3-2 here, and only giving 2 maps because of the power of his opponent. And yeah, like I said to Brendan, this is, I think, the closest match in the round of 8.
Okay. Interesting.
That leaves just one person left.
Well,
to
I
answer.
mean, I've just been wrong all day.
I mean,
so-
is there a feeling going?
No.
How's that feel?
That was
No feeling
That was
today?
a terrible feeling, apparently. Must have been indigestion or something. It was not the prediction for sure. I believe so. Here's something for you guys to know. The Envy team that viOlet is on was eliminated from the CS:GO tournament, and yesterday they communicated over Twitter that they've been sending their energy to viOlet. They've been sending their energy, which I
Wow.
believe to be, I believe that is a Goku type thing. That's where they
Spirit Bomb. Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, this is Spirit Bomb.
They call it a Spirit Bomb?
Yeah.
Okay, I believe that's what's happening here. And it propelled viOlet past Marine Lord, who cannot lose to a Zerg. So that being said, I believe in a
reason.
roundabout
That was a
way.
good one, Alex.
Okay, here's where we're at now. viOlet with that Team Envy energy is going to go ahead and win the series 3-1 probably.
Wow.
Which also, kind of an interesting storyline, completes the overall depression of Team Liquid. I believe at that moment in time
Yeah.
would be the darkest hour.
That was
for
going to be
team.
the last question I was going to ask you guys is, Snute, after a victory today, and a convincing victory, that's surely got to change his confidence levels, because it's been something they've all been suffering from.
Well, I've been to and from the play area and just talking to the guys and seeing Snute around, wandering around, and he seems a lot more cheerful than he did yesterday. Yesterday he was very down on the dumps. He was dark on that couch when he was having his interview, let's be honest. But he's been smiling, he's been fist bumping, he's like, oh, GG, like that sort of thing. And, that's it's the mark of a turnaround in composure and attitude, I think.
The light shines brightest just before utter darkness. I
That's
think.
right, yeah.
Stephen King, 2005, probably.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's especially good. We were talking about, does it hurt or help if you do go out on that stage? For someone who is the more nervous type, the darker type, not so sure where they're at, to get out on that stage, prove it to themselves once, come back, think about it, play, get out on stage again, prove it to themselves again. And I think that is the big reason why he is looking very confident, and that's why I have confidence in him.
All
Well
right.
said.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. It's time to start the third quarterfinal and see who's going to be playing in the Spodek Arena. It's time to go to the stage with Red Eye to introduce our 2 players.
Yes, thank you very much, Sean. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the stage for our third quarterfinal of the day. And it's promising to be a cracker as well. 2 players who are fighting for their country's pride, of course. We started off with 3 Koreans entering the WCS Winter Championship, and 3 still remain. They are the powerhouse country, of course, in StarCraft 2. But Norway shouldn't be forgotten. Their favourite son is also in the round of 8. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome viOlet and Snute! Gentlemen, good luck. Have fun. May the best man win. A place in the semi-final then, as we head over to our commentators for the Game 3 of the quarterfinal.
Thank you very much, Paul. We are ready for this ZvZ, of course, a very big one, as it is the quarterfinals between two players that are obviously very good, Ben, but have not looked invincible lately in ZvZ.
Not at all, and like the analyst desk did say, Snute was one of the guys that we had full faith in to take on any Korean Zerg, it seemed. Hyun finals seemed to be legendary with him at Home Story Cup. And
4-0.
Yeah, and they happened like, it wasn't just a one-off thing. He beat Hyun at multiple times in those finals. But with viOlet, we looked at his record, and it's completely even between these two guys.
Yeah, they haven't played against each other lately, just to give you guys a small sneak peek into the history between these two. They've been around pretty much since forever. I mean, Snute came up at the end of Wings of Liberty and has been on top of the European scene for a long time. But they have not played against each other once in 2016. Over the years, they've got a 6-6 record against each other, 3-2 in series for viOlet though. But that doesn't really mean all that much, you know, 2015, 2014 results. What does mean is that Snute, for instance, this month went up against Elazer 5 times in series. He lost 4 out of 5. Now, Elazer seems to be kind of a god in ZvZ right now, so maybe we shouldn't look that much into it, but that's not something you can feel very good about. viOlet, on the other end, had a big loss very recently to Scarlet, 1-3. Also, of course, took that 0-3 loss against Bly in the semi-finals of DreamHack Leipzig, so I don't think that either of these two guys is really going in to this series with the mindset of, man, ZvZ, love it, I'm ready for it, feeling on top of my game. But of course, you gotta be positive. I mean, it's a mirror matchup, anything is possible. It doesn't really seem to matter how many ZvZs you win. Any pro gamer will always say, well, you know, it's still ZvZ. It's like, yeah, you say it's still ZvZ, but you've won the last 14 you've played, you know? Like, yeah, but you know, it's still ZvZ.
It is still ZvZ, but this is ZvZ in a totally different game as well. Legacy of the Void. The concept has entirely changed. Not only is there Roaches, but there's Ravagers, and the whole Muta play has came into account too. And who would that really benefit? viOlet's always been a guy that's very good at these run-bys. He's very, very annoying, and he keeps you on your toes. And you can't forget, viOlet's a guy that's been around for a long time. Even back in our Blade Master days, viOlet was racking up scalps left, right, and center. But he is a killer, man. He knows how to win games.
I love how you bring that up. viOlet, of course, once upon a time a Warcraft 3 player, but that doesn't matter anymore as we are loaded into Arena for the first map of this quarterfinals. And over here on the left bottom side, we're looking at the main base of our Team Liquid Zerg. It is Snute.
Handsome fella in a good Team Liquid jacket, but spawning over in the top left as our Blue Zerg, representing Team MV, it is viOlet. Calm as a cucumber.
Yep, mirror opening so far, spawning pool going down relative, well, not super early, but 17 supply before hatcheries. Of course, Arena is a very unique map in ZvZ as well. You don't want to go hatch first over here because you can get punished for it very quickly. Now, something I do really remember from viOlet this series against Bly is that he made a couple of build order choices I did not understand at all. You go up against the most aggressive Zerg out there, and then you try to play gasless, for instance. You know, I just don't really understand it. Why don't you try to play very safe and just kind of be ready for any sort of early game aggression? Because you know Bly is capable of that. viOlet was not adapting very well in that series, and I genuinely believe that Snute has an edge when it comes to, you know, maybe having a couple of tricks up his sleeve, or at least understanding of how to go up against certain builds and how to adapt in the middle of a best of 5.
That might be a sign of viOlet not knowing his opponents too well, or maybe not studying them too well, just playing his own style. And he's always done that in every matchup, has his own little tweaks to things, and maybe wanting players to adapt to him rather than having to adapt to them. Snute, he's been a very by-the-book guy. So will viOlet need to do anything special against Snute?
But over the years, Snute has faded away a little bit from that almost boring macro Zerg, you know, the guy that just doesn't really attack.
He can do it.
Yep, never really wants to roll the dice. He's still a very strong macro player, but I am happy to see that Snute is willing to switch it up, that he is willing to throw some risk into his play. Because let's be honest, if you want to win StarCraft 2 tournaments, you need the heart of a lion. You really need to show some courage, and you need to roll the dice a little bit every now and then. And I feel that's often where the Koreans make the difference, you know. They're not afraid to proxy a couple of Rexes in Game 7 of a GSL final.
I'm glad you quoted that game. That's one of my favorites of all time. And here, Snute put on a little bit of aggression. Didn't get much done, but did force out some lings and droned up behind us.
What is very important to mention is that this is an early Roach one for viOlet. He's already saving up quite a bit of minerals. viOlet's going to be aggressive here very early on. These are not safety Roaches. These are Roaches of, I want to do something. And Snute has not scouted this. He does have a couple of Zerglings at the bottom of this ramp. But guys, this is Arena. This could potentially be a very quick map. Once again, Snute is Roach one is halfway done. Is this Roach one too late?
I think he might be just cutting it in time, but one of the reasons you don't really want to go Banelings on this map, such a narrow choke between the bases here. If you just have a Baneling, Lings can't really run past, they have to run all the way around the map, so that speed you utilize with speed Ling Bane can't be done, and now Snute sees it. He sees what he's up against.
Yep, viOlet is droning behind this though, so this is not like Hydra versus Neep, but it really has to happen right here, right now, or this is game over. Smart move here by Snute, evacuating the low ground for a little bit. Of course he's losing mining time, but that's a lot better than losing 7 drones.
Really smart play by viOlet though. His Roach count's very small. This isn't an all-in, isn't an overcommitment. And look, is he going to lose 2 queens as well with all of this at the top of his ramp? I think so. Already a pretty successful attack by viOlet.
Yeah, these queens are definitely dead in the water, but there are the roaches are kind of trapped right now though, and if you lose 5 roaches, you gotta worry about the counterattack. These roaches are dead. viOlet's gonna try to get as many casualties as he can before he ends up losing these roaches. The roaches do get trapped by these drones, so Snute is gonna clean this up, and I would say Snute, send those roaches across the map. viOlet does have 7 roaches in production though. I guess in the end that was a successful attack, and the roach warren of Snute was too late.
Whoa, look at this though, Snute. There was only battle units on his tab. He did not have enough gas, so he even made a lot of Lings with this, and he's still producing Lings. So Snute go massively all in there. He did lose quite a number of drones.
Yep, Snute is not having any plans of transitioning out of this attack. It has to happen. This time it does have to happen right here, right now. But I actually think viOlet is in a very good position. He already has 7, 8, 9 roaches waiting for this first exchange. It's important he dodges the corrosive bow of that one Ravager, and he does. Snute is reinforcing with Lings, but viOlet can even pull the drones. He's 14 workers ahead. All that viOlet needs to do is stabilize here, and I don't see why he wouldn't.
No, he's 20, almost 10, or in fact 15 supply ahead at this point. There are 2 Ravagers dealing a lot of damage, but viOlet, one Bile does hit, but it looks like he will have enough units, even without pulling the drones. Maybe a bit of an overextension there with the drones, but viOlet, he holds, and he holds pretty darn well.
Yeah, I mean, now the tables are turned again. viOlet is like, cool, this time you lost all your units, and as far as I know, I'm still pretty far ahead economically, so I'm gonna try to apply some pressure on the other side of the map, force out as many units as I can. Even if I don't win the game here, I'm still up 10, 12 workers, and that is absolutely massive in the ZvZ, and I actually think that Snute is gonna have a lot of trouble even stabilizing here. I think the game might just end, man. I really think viOlet's got game number 1 in the bag.
Wow, so simple by viOlet. A little push with the roaches, 5 roaches, but they did undeniable damage. And Snute, he's struggling here. He's struggling. You saw how he was even misclicking his drones a little bit onto the minerals, so just a little bit flustered in the first game. He's looking to lose in 6 minutes here.
Yeah, I mean it is Arena, like, you know, most of the time I lose in 3, Nate.
I mean, if you're going to lose on Arena, you might as well do it fast. Like,
yeah,
your opponent does spawn right next to you.
Yep, there's no need to drag this one out if you're just too far behind. Snute viOlet lost 12 drones. He's trying to hang in there. This is the quarterfinals of the ZvZ Winter Championships. You don't tap out early. Unless you guess your TLO on Larry Crest.
Too soon, too soon.
GG is called, and viOlet will pick up game number 1. That was, of course, a joke. TLO, I did agree with the fact that you were very far behind. Don't worry. Don't get angry on Twitter.
Don't get angry on Twitter. Don't fire shots at Kevin. We all love you, Kevin. But yeah, what a nice game by viOlet. And it was so simple, too. I love the idea how viOlet throws units at his opponent and just simply drones right behind. And we do see TLO in the Twitch chat.
Now, a solid game by viOlet, and that first roach run of Snute was just a tiny bit too late. It is hard to scout. I mean, you got to look at it from a player's point of view, and normally you want to squeeze out a couple of extra drones if you can, you know. Make sure that your economy doesn't hurt too much, but Snute just saw it a tiny bit too late. By the time that the roaches showed up at his natural ramp, that's when he started to produce his roaches. Evacuating the drones was a cool decision, but losing the queens and still ending up losing 5, 6, 7 drones. viOlet was 14 drones ahead after that attack. All he had to do is deal with the counter, and he was completely fine.
You're right, Kev. That Roach Warren was just 20 seconds too late. On any bigger map, he'd have probably been totally fine, but we even saw his mineral count skyrocket to about 700, 800 when he's under massive pressure. Then he ran out of gas as well, so even on the counter attack, he was using Lings, which he probably didn't really want to use. They didn't even have speed out, so...
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of like a desperate time call for desperate measures, right? He's like, all right, if I'm going to try to drone up now, I already know that my opponent has way more drones than me. You know, you could try it, but I guess Snute, I didn't blame Snute for trying to make a counter to the other side of the map, but viOlet didn't cut any corners, didn't overdrone on that moment. Very smart. He realized, hey, I'm already economically ahead. There's no need to take extra risk. Let's produce roaches over here. I know that you're going to try to counterattack me, and viOlet handled game number 1 very well. I mean, that was probably as clean as it gets on Arena.
When you put your or when you put your opponent in a position where he has a bad choice to make or an even worse choice to make, such as, do I try catch up in drones when I'm behind, or do I try and attack my opponent? It's a really, really good spot when you check your opponent like that. And honestly, with viOlet's playstyle being so erratic, so aggressive, Arena is the map for him. And there, viOlet, just a little problem with the light, it does seem.
Yeah, it looks very blue. Looks kind of cool, though.
I mean,
I guess you don't really want to look too
I mean,
cool when you're playing
cool,
when you're playing for a ridiculous amount of money.
Yeah, but let's not blind viOlet here, guys. Like, guy needs to see.
It's been, of course, a long time that viOlet had an amazing run at the tournament. I mean, DreamHack Leipzig looked really good, and semifinals is a very good run. And for some people, that's the breakout performance that they've been waiting for. But viOlet has been an MLG champion. He has been, you know, having deep runs back in the days in even the GSL. I won't say WCS, but even in the GSL, the final GSL of Wings of Liberty. So semifinals at DreamHack Leipzig, yeah, that's good. Nobody's going to say that was a bad tournament for viOlet. But it, you know, it's not something that we're going to remember over and over again, because we expect more of him. We know that he's capable of more.
Well, I especially know he's capable of more, because every tournament I ever entered, viOlet knocked me out of it pretty much. So this guy, it's kind of like oh, it's great to see viOlet. He's such a nice guy, but man, he is good when he wants to be. And right now, for the first few months of Legacy of the Void, actually, we didn't see viOlet that much at all.
Nope, it's been a little quiet until we showed up at DreamHack, and we're all kind of asking ourselves, you know, how good is viOlet now? viOlet is pretty beatable, right? Like, yeah, of course, you know, he's a Korean Zerg, he lives in America for a while, but he should be beatable, right? 4. Yeah, and then suddenly he shows up, he's like, guys, I'm actually not all that beatable. Like, yeah, Bly was able to stop him in the ZvZ, but he did look good. And is that going to continue over here in the quarterfinals? Well, we're about to find out, Ben, as we're hopping into Laralac Crest. Over here on the right bottom side, we're looking at the main base of our Norwegian Zerg. He's down on 1. Give it up for Snute.
He definitely needs your support, guys. But spawning in the top right of Laralac Crest, currently 1-0 up in this series, it is viOlet.
Interesting opening over here by Snute.
Cheeky Snute.
Yep, that's earlier than it was on Arena. That's when you know it's early, because on the Arena everybody drops a relatively early pool. Even though, you know, 16, 17 it was on Arena, that's pretty safe. This one is a lot more aggressive, and this is good news for viOlet, as he's dropping his pool as well, but just a couple thrones later, which means he's going to be able to get a minor economic advantage, and he should be able to deal with the aggression of Snute, unless viOlet decides to go weird and stay gasless for a while. That's when things get very tricky. He does follow it up with a hatchery.
I feel on a map like
he needs the
Laralac
extractor,
Crest,
though. He needs gas. viOlet needs gas. Without gas, I think this is going to be very, very difficult.
Totally, you're very right. On a map so open as Laralac Crest, despite having the rocks now at the third, that is a runaround zone for Zerglings. And if your opponent has speed and you don't, you're in for some trouble there. And look how early the speed is.
Yeah, and that extractor is late for viOlet. It is very late. This is one of these maps as well where you never want to skip the Baneling Nest, you know, because you said it, the ramp into the natural is super wide, so there's no such thing as 2 queens is going to keep you safe.
This information for viOlet, though, he's seen Lings running out, and he's seen that there isn't a hatchery going down. This is big, big information for him. Where are those resources going? They're not just going into those Lings. He has to know with this, that was a very early gas, because that hatchery is so late.
Ah, he's going to follow this up with a Roach Warren immediately, but will he be able to get Roaches out in time to somehow keep the hatch alive? Like, I think if Snute, if I'm looking at this from Snute's point of view, if Snute is able to either force a cancel on this hatch or kill it, he can just back off and do the same thing as viOlet, and he will be fine, because Snute does have his own hatchery behind this. So for Snute, it is very important that he gets a kill on this hatchery or surround the queens, whatever.
One thing I loved about Snute's play just then, he was still attacking the hatchery with some of his Lings, but he was using the exact same number of Lings +1 to fend off viOlet's Lings there. It's something so small, but can get extra damage on that hatchery.
Yep, so Snute just running around, buying time. Speed is almost ready.
Speed has been revealed, though. This is where it gets a bit dicey for viOlet, because if he lets those Lings in the main base...
But I mean, Snute has not committed anymore to Lings, so he's not going to be able to get any kills on that hatch. He should be able to spot the Roach Warren, I wanted to say, but he hasn't seen it yet. Snute not seeing the Roach Warren is a pretty big deal.
Wow, no damage done really with this opening, and his hatchery is so much later. If we can see the harvester count here too, look at viOlet, he's absolutely pounding out drones at this point in time, still catching up with Snute.
Because of that much quicker expand, obviously he's going to have more larvae to work with. Snute is producing more Lings though, he's going to throw down the Baneling Nest as well, but Snute missing that Roach Warren is a very big deal.
Yeah, like we all know how these armies go into the mid-game. It's Roach Ravager. You need those to stay alive, and if not, you're going to get Roach pushed. So right now, I give viOlet the big edge in terms of evolution.
Okay, attacking with these roaches is very risky. I do not recommend viOlet doing that. I really think that if viOlet just sits back, drones up, I mean, Snute has invested in quite a few links. Actually drops his spine. Snute is misreading this a little bit. viOlet was moving out, kind of giving Snute the signal, hey, be careful, man. I've got roaches. I'm ready to rally them across the map, but he's actually not doing that. Snute needs to cancel the spine because viOlet is just droning up, and Snute does not need the spine crawler right now, and that's a big deal because he's already a little bit behind economically.
Snute's gearing up for an all-in here, and he's going to wait for it too. There is not going to be a Baneling nest anytime soon for viOlet. He's already got to roaches safely, which is one of the big deals. Snute cancels the spine.
Yeah, that's good, but okay, well, it all comes down to scouting, right? When will viOlet see the ridiculous amount of Zerglings that Snute is currently producing?
And not over-droning.
Yeah, and will he have enough units to deal with it? viOlet needs a couple of roaches out. A defensive spine would be very good for viOlet. Okay, right now he does not have enough, and he's making more drones. This might actually be very good Niels for the Norwegian Zerg player.
And how would he know this is going on? Snute's done a really good job covering this.
He's in 3 bases, even a third hatchery going down for viOlet.
Wow, oh, we've seen the Banelings.
Yeah, he knows now.
He knows there's something, and
I
seeing all these lings flood out too.
I almost feel that viOlet can cancel that hatch and throw down a couple of additional spines, but maybe viOlet is that confident that he feels he doesn't even need them. He does have 7-8 roaches on the production tab. It will all come down to the roach positioning. Will Snute be able to surround these roaches or not?
Oh, that's a few roaches instantly surrounded. The ones popping out too, they get surrounded by the lings. Also, evacuating with the drones, and he gets away scot-free with most of them. But still, this is a lot of Snute in his expansion here. And these Banelings, connecting on those queens.
The roach count is looking a little bit healthy behind those queens though, but the lings will finally be able to break through. Are they able to get the surround? No surround as of yet. viOlet is still 10 workers ahead. He's going to pull the workers, which I don't mind, because all that viOlet needs to do here is stabilize, but I actually think that Snute just has a few too many units.
It looks like Snute's doing it. He's managing to overwhelm his opponent here. Look at the supply. 50 against 36.
Wow.
Most of it's in production for viOlet too.
Well, Snute with a cheeky counter that viOlet does not see coming. Made a few too many drones, saw it a little bit too late. Even going up to 3 bases against a 2-base all-in, that's not what you want to do. GG, Snute evens up the series.
Wow, in such fashion too, keeping all those lings back, and he did kind of misread the situation for sure earlier, but those drones of his, he only had 4 in his expansion, but they never got scouted.
I almost feel that Snute maybe misread it earlier. I mean, it's hard to look into the player, right? But I really did think that he was thinking that viOlet was serious about the attack. That's why he threw up the spine. He made all the links, and then suddenly he's like, oh, he's not doing this. Well, I already made all these links. You know, if you're halfway there, you may as well just go all out and produce nothing but links, keep your opponent in the dark a little bit, and then try to finish it, because I've already made an investment into all these units. I need to do something with it. Well, he went for it, and just like that.
Do you know what's also smart? How often does a player get to roaches safely, but then also transition into Banelings from that point on? It's very, very rare, unless you're doing like a Roach Bane all-in. So the fact that Snute actually saw his opponent get roaches so early, he knew he was going to rely on that for defense. So what's the weakness of roaches? Just an overwhelming amount of lings early on in the game. There's not going to be Banelings out.
Yeah, position is everything. And once again, Lateral Crest is a map where you can't just sit behind 2 queens or have 2 roaches on the ramp. Like if this is Orbital Shipyard or Dust Towers, a strategy like that cannot possibly work, because it's very easy to wall off. And then at a certain point, your opponent is like, well, cool, I've got 7 roaches behind my queens. You can try to break this for days, but you ain't gonna break it. Lateral, different ball game. Snute just jumping on those roaches. I love the fact that he wasn't being indecisive. You know, if you go for an all-in like that, more of those Banes and just go for it. You know, don't waste any second, and he didn't waste.
Yeah, like when you're given a decision to make, it's all about being decisive. You never go halfway on anything in StarCraft, and that's exactly what Snute did. And honestly, viOlet was totally in the dark there. He was trying to get his +1 missile attack upgrades. He was getting his 3rd. He had no idea what was going on. He thought he was set up for the macro game. But no, Snute had other plans.
I'm very surprised that viOlet didn't cancel that 3rd hatchery after he saw the Banes move and he saw a bunch of Zerglings stream across the map. Maybe he wasn't thinking about it, maybe he forgot about it, but obviously you don't need that 3rd hatchery when your opponent makes that many units. That means that he has no drones whatsoever at home. That hatchery, you cancel it, you can maybe throw up 3 spines. Could have already been too late, but at least that forces Snute to worry about one more thing. Maybe he has to split up a couple of units and work on those spines.
It's really easy from our perspective, because we knew how all-in it was, but in viOlet's eyes, maybe he thought it was like a pressure attack, but like a big, hefty pressure attack. Then if he did have his 3rd alive, then it's a sealed deal, you know?
Yeah.
That's the only argument I can give, besides he forgot about it going up.
No, but of course, I get it. But of course, you know, viOlet early on also realized that Snute made quite a few links. And he didn't get the cancel on the hatch. He didn't even get a queen whatsoever. So viOlet knew that the early game skirmish was definitely in his favor.
And spawning in the top left of Prime Terraces here, tying up the series 1-1, it is Team Liquid Snute.
Already hopping into Prime Terraces, just like that. Game 3 of this best of 5, the second last quarterfinal. Over here on the bottom side of the map, we're looking at the main base of the Zerg that's representing Team Envious. It is viOlet.
Good series between these guys so far. Both show that they can play very, very aggressive and go for the kill.
Yeah, I think most people look at this series and like, all right, this is going to be close. This could be a coin toss, and that's not because it's ZvZ. That's just because these two are pretty damn evenly matched. And I think form of the day really matters. You know, mindset matters a lot, and those are things that we all can't possibly know. How confident do they feel currently in ZvZ? You know, truly, shape of the day is what means the difference.
And honestly, stylistically, when players go at it, you can have better players going against worse players, but stylistically they can clash a lot. Whereas these guys, I always thought they clashed. It was always the aggressor against the defensive player, so I always gave Snute the edge. But in Legacy of the Void, you can't always run by one method anymore. We've already seen a very, very different Snute to what we're used to.
Yeah, I mean, these two players have been all across the board when it comes to how they like to play. viOlet for the longest time had the reputation of being ridiculously aggressive. Snute for the longest time had the reputation of being very defensive, but things have changed a little bit. It's definitely not that black and white anymore, and these guys are no one-trick ponies. They can do both.
And that's definitely their edge right now. The other player doesn't know what the other one's going to do, and we saw that. viOlet got massively caught out in Game 2 by Snute there.
So Ben, as a competitive player, I want to ask you, you know, if you play against someone, I still consider you very competitive. You know, I'm a fan. I'm a Muslim fan. I will always.
You have to be.
I always believe in a comeback. viOlet already played a ZvZ in the round of 16. He went up against Jigawa. How much does that matter? Like, Snute has obviously been looking at those games. He knew he was going to play viOlet. You know, how much does that matter? Do you think it has a big impact, or it does not really matter all that much?
In a tournament this big, you always try your best no matter what, so you're not hiding builds. viOlet won Jigawa 3-1. I believe he lost the first game.
Correct. 3-1 in the round of 32.
Honestly, Snute can study those as much as he wants. viOlet's a crazy, crazy dog, and they're both different beasts, to be honest. Even if they've played Zergs before this in this tournament, they're both playing pretty much their equal.
That was kind of funny, by the way. It's like spine crawler going up, let me cancel the spine and throw it on the Baneling Nest. Of course, this is a very unique map. I like the saturation a little bit better for viOlet. viOlet only having like 8 or 9 drones right now in his gold. Snute having 12 already. That may not seem like a big deal, and I don't even like the way that he split up his drones. Look at this, he's got like 6 out of the 9 drones on the bottom patches over here. So he's really not mining efficiently at all from the top side mineral patches. And in the ZvZ, with the amount of links and banelings you can produce from not too much money, I actually think this makes a very big difference. This is not something we talk about that much, but the saturation is way better for Snute so far.
It is, but that all depends on how long Snute wants the game to go on for. If viOlet wants or plans on going for a longer game, it means his gold will stay awake for longer.
Well, look at the amount of links that viOlet is producing right now, 20, and once again, he could have had a little bit more money if he would have actually saturated that natural a tiny bit better. It's important for Snute that he picks up on this as quick as possible. He does have an Overlord there, as Funkai is showing us. You want to keep your turret base alive at all costs. viOlet is going to try to snipe this hatchery. Snute is going to try to defend it. I'm not sure if he... Well, actually, Snute's going to cancel. Wow, with Banelings.
Snute's got Banelings ready too, so even if there was a viOlet there prepared, he's not going to be able to do it. But this Baneling going to get quite a few lings. That is quite a mistake by viOlet. He did not see that happening, but great surprise by Snute. Still gets the cancel though.
Yep, gets the cancel. Let's take a look on the other side of the map. Snute is working on this hatchery. Hatchery still has quite a bit of HP.
And it's
viOlet is going to let it finish, so that's a pretty big decision there. Letting it finish means that viOlet is confident he can keep this hatchery alive. Banelings are a little bit out of position, but I think this is an easy pickup for Snute, right? With the 2 Banes?
I think so too, and the small lings joining the field.
He's got it, man.
Wow, and Snute, that's a huge investment. That's 350 minerals, including the drone. Yeah, viOlet, sure, you have a few more drones, but mate, that's a lot of lings outside your base right now.
Yep, he has 7 roaches on the production tab. Snute is going to spot it. Oh, that was very really good by the way. Yep.
Yeah, Baneling wall, they have extra armor.
Love that move there by viOlet. He's going to keep those lings out of his main base for now. Good trades there for Snute, getting a couple of bane links, not losing too many links. And he also spots the roaches, which is very important. Would have been awesome for Snute to get a link or so into the main base, see if there's layer tech or not. But sometimes, you know, these guys are so good, without seeing, they know.
For sure do. Snute's actually producing roaches at this point in time, so he's aware that he could be attacked. Even sending a few lings around the field to cancel and stop that third again. So Snute, he's actually on top of the game right now.
Needs a few more links here, but he does have more units, and this is delaying the push that viOlet was trying to make.
And he sees it coming back too with his Overlord.
This is great. This is great for Snute. Whether or not he gets the hatchery, this is awesome.
Oh, one ling for the Baneling too. Right now, Snute's playing really, really well. He's
playing
read
phenomenal.
the situation.
Absolutely playing phenomenal. viOlet made a lot of roaches before Snute made those roaches, so Snute could catch up economically. Snute is still down a couple of drones though. After this big drone wave that he's currently producing, they'll be even, but viOlet's
Look at
making
this
a few more.
saturation too. This third base is very well saturated. The natural, pretty well saturated too. I want to see the main being kind of empty in comparison. Yes, and it is. Snute's doing very well here.
Yeah, and look at this mass saturation. I mean, I guess viOlet has no choice right now. I mean, that's the thing, right? You look at the income tab, you look at the drone count, it's like, it's pretty even, or viOlet has a small lead. Actually, Snute is the one who has a pretty damn big lead, because it's a double gold, and you said it, saturated double gold, which is way better than having 17 drones in your blue mineral main base.
Certainly. Both trying to get rid of the Overlords here with a few Ravages, takes 4 to Corrosive Bile, but you're never going to get it if the Zerg's on the ball here.
I mean, you can really see that gold base kicking in for Snute. This was a dead even game. Right now, he already has 8, 9, 10 supply
that
lead.
mineral income.
Yeah, and he's going to capitalize on this advantage that he has created for himself. And I think the moment that Snute is going to run across the map, I really think he's going to have way more units than viOlet. viOlet needs to produce a couple of Overlords. You don't want to be supply blocked. A couple of these players, while they were under pressure already, supply blocked. Like a good job there by viOlet. But I still think that Snute is going to be able to produce more units, and it's going to be very difficult for viOlet to defend.
You know, despite having the third base that much earlier for Snute, and I thought his saturation was great, viOlet's only 10 supply behind at this point. Like, he's done a very good job of keeping up, and I really don't know how he's done it so well, actually. Being very cocky with his Ravages here. This is before Roach Speed kicks in.
Yeah, has to be careful over here. I still like Snute's army a little bit better. Snute has a lot of links that are trapped right now in the middle of his army. Snute, be careful. You want to use those links for something. I'm very surprised that viOlet is committing to this fight, because Snute has been outmining you. Good movement there on the links.
The Lings getting right in there on the Ravagers. And Ravagers, while they deal a lot of damage, they have way lower health than Roaches. So if you get Lings on top of them, they also have a huge surface area, so Lings can deal a lot of damage. And Snute, he's sending viOlet home with his tail between his legs.
Yep, this was weird by viOlet. He knew that Snute had his third base up and running way before he did. I'm not sure why he thought moving to the middle of the map was good. Dodging across the balls is very important. Snute is going to eat a couple of them there, but he still has way more units. Reinforcements streaming across the map as well. These units are super trapped.
He's in the corner. These bios are hitting all over viOlet's army. His army's totally red here. Snute's overwhelming viOlet. Great play by Snute that game, and 2-1 lead for Snute.
Wow, great play by Snute on Brian Terraces there, which I really think he did everything pretty much awesome, you know, or that made no sense at all, but he just played a phenomenal game. No, I'm getting really hyped over here, because this is awesome how Snute is playing this. The counter-attack with the links, forcing the Roaches to turn around, spotting the Roaches rather early, and also great saturation on his bases, and that just allowed him to get a few more units out. And I think it's safe to say that in the end, viOlet shouldn't have been in the middle of the map when he's being outmined.
Certainly not. While you definitely want to be the aggressor against your opponent, when you've just got a lesser army, you have to find other ways into the game. You can't take a head-on combat there.
Nope. Either way, good series so far. Snute in the lead, 2-1. As always, after 3 games, we're going to head to a very small break. And after that, we'll be back with game number 4 of this quarterfinals. Alright guys, welcome back to the Intel Extreme Masters WCS. Well, actually, only Apollo can do this. The Winter Championship of the World Championship Series. At the Intel Extreme Masters, live from Katowice. Well, that was the wrong order, but we almost got it right. We are ready to hop into game number 4 on Dusk Towers. Can this man close out the series? He's one map win away from making it to the semi-finals of the WCS Winter Championships. It is, of course, Liquid's very own Snute.
So far, looking so good. And spawning.
He always looks good, though, man.
On the other side of Dusk Towers, as our blue Zerg, playing for Team Envious, it is viOlet.
viOlet looked incredibly good at game number 1, and I think even game number 2 was going well for him until he just misread or wasn't ready for the aggression of Snute. And it's really funny how quickly a ZvZ series can snowball out of control, because, you know, game number 1 rock solid, game number 2 early game good, and now suddenly he's down 2-1 in the series, and you're one map away from being eliminated, going home. I mean, quarterfinals still gives you $10,000, so, or excuse me, $8,000, but that's not what he's coming here for.
You're here for the pride, and
Yep.
you know, viOlet is a Korean. He's not looking, he didn't come here to lose to a foreigner, even though the foreigner is Snute in question. But you're totally right. In the first game, he looked great, but it's been slowly kind of going downhill. So maybe this little break of a good 4 minutes between the series helped him regain composure. Maybe he can use this to work in his favor here, because, yeah, the first game, he looked solid as a rock.
Yep. Both players, of course, already secured themselves $8,000. If they move on, they'll make to the semis, and they are guaranteed of $10,000. But something that may be even more important, especially towards the end of the year, are going to be those WCS circuit points. Right now, they've secured 600 of them, make it into top 4. That's 900. To put things in perspective, I think Drogo got 1,000 for winning DreamHack Leipzig. So 900 points here against the DreamHack victory. This is a big deal for those WCS rankings.
WCS rankings, money, pride, prestige, you name it. They both want the win here. So, spawning on Dusk Towers, one of the bigger maps in the map pool. This is one of the maps that, as far as the Overlord flies, you spawn very far away from your opponent. And one thing in this ZvZ, compared to a lot of ZvZs I've seen, they've both actually expanded in their own base, rather than going for the more outer expand.
You know, man, it's funny that you say that this is one of the bigger maps in the current map pool. I've never thought about it like that. You're absolutely right. I just don't look at Dusk Towers and think like, man, what a big map. You know, it kind of feels like a regular-sized map to me. Like Orbital and Dusk, those are regular-sized map to me. What was that crazy big map? Altazim Stronghold? Or
that was a huge
yeah, that was really big, right?
Veto.
No, it was fun, man.
Well, fun for you. Wait.
And SOS, he made carriers on it, right?
Well, I seem to remember ZVP not going well for the Zergs on that map. Like, it was too big for even Swarmhost to deal with.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, there's a couple of great games back then on that map. Even like sometimes the silly maps, they do produce really good games.
One thing that makes this map seem a lot smaller is the fact that there's only 2 middle points in the middle to get through. Everywhere else, you can't just run around like Rambo, you know, with lings and such.
It's almost even one, you know, like at the end of the day, you're going to have to go through this point. There's one little square splitting it up, but it's pretty straightforward. Early Roach Warren, let's focus on the builds. viOlet going up to 3 bases very quickly. Snute, of course, doing the same thing on the other side of the map. Roach Warren already going down would be a good scout for Snute. Snute does have a couple of banelings on production tab, but those feel more like defensive banelings to me, which he absolutely doesn't need against his Roach one, but maybe he's going to try to do something cute with them later. You know what I really like from Bly's ZvZ is that in the mid phase of this game, Bly's always active with units, and then he gets one of these drop overlords, and then he puts 4 banelings in it, tries to fly them into the main base. viOlet is trying to do something over here with Zerglings on the other side of the map. Snute does not even have speed, so I guess he really needed these banelings. I didn't even pick up on that at first as we were talking about Dusk Towers. Snute completely skipped speed. His Zerglings are very slow.
Very, very slow, so they can't keep up with these lings, but luckily only 2 made it into the base. They do get a great scout off, which is ultimately what they wanted to do if they couldn't deal damage.
Interesting build by Snute, getting the Baneling Nest defensively, you know, just to buy time in case he's getting all in, but then going straight into Roaches, not even investing that 100 gas into speed.
It's one of those things where, as a Zerg, you kind of always want Ling speed, even in those desperate situations where you need to funnel out units very quickly, even to attack your opposition. Yes, once this game hits the Roach Ravager stage, Lings will all but tickle your opponent, but kind of risky skipping it. But again, huge map, huge map.
And he did have the defensive baiting nest, so that kept him safe. But I do agree with you. Then again, at the highest level, you know, every resource matters. And 100 gas is still quite a bit of an investment early on. So if Snute feels that he can make it into the Roach Ravager phase of the game without investing that 100 gas into speed, it may be a good decision. And in all honesty, so far, viOlet wasn't able to do a whole lot with his speedlings.
No, certainly not. Wasn't much damage done at all. All the queens stayed alive, yes. Vision was given, but Snute got the vision that much earlier without speed. And here, viOlet, yeah, that link speed phase of the game didn't accomplish much. So, size of the map, possibly?
There is one more way that I do always like Zerglings being used, and that is when it's definitely focused on Roaches and Ravagers. So viOlet didn't get the scout off, I believe that the layer was morphing already. But we saw that on Prime Terraces, right? If you have a couple
Spire
of... If you have
Snute?
Wow, that's such a quick Spire.
Especially after committing to Roaches, with not getting link speed as well.
It's funny because if there's one Zerg that used to cancel link speed very often, like Snute never started it, I believe, but viOlet used to research link speed, then cancel it, and then go up to Spire very quickly. I want to say, like, one more way I like the Zerglings being used is what we saw on Prime Terraces, where if you're winning the fight, you can swing the links around your opponent's army and kind of force them either to fight the links, which means that your Roaches are doing damage, or you can just trap those units in the middle of the map. But that doesn't really matter when Snute is going to go up to a very quick Spire. He's going to throw up a bunch of Spine Crawlers as well, because he's obviously a tiny bit worried about viOlet producing an insane amount of Roaches and just rallying them across the map. But at the same time, Snute also has Roaches, so I'm not sure if viOlet commits to an attack, I'm not sure if it's going to work. I am pretty sure that it's not going to work, Ben. That's just the way to put it. Because it feels like Snute has plenty of units over here. The Spines will buy time. And then he's going to be able to squeeze out a couple of Mutalisk. And Mutalisk will always eventually clean up the Roaches. Of course, the big question is, how much will the Roaches be able to do? But I think against his defensive setup of Snute, I don't think all that much.
Snute's anticipated this beyond well. He had the Spine Crawlers building before his opponent even started moving across the map. So, wow, great prediction by Snute. But look at viOlet. He is getting that Spire, as you pointed out. And, man, we're going to see some mutas.
This is going to be cool. Of course, Snute needs to scout this as well. viOlet's going to see these Spine Crawlers, and he's going to be pretty unhappy. He's like, wow, you've got Spines and Roaches. Why are you doing this? Do you have a Spire as well?
He knows. He knows something's going on behind this.
I mean, that's crazy, though. Snute is looking incredibly good in this game right now. He has a few less Roaches, but it doesn't really matter because he has Spines to fall back on, and he has quicker Mutalisk. Mutalisk are going to give him map control. He can clean up multiple Overlords. viOlet, however, is going into a Spire as well, and it is important for Snute that he scouts this, because what otherwise could happen is that Snute makes 7, 8, 9 Mutas, kind of forgets about it, goes mass Roach, and then viOlet suddenly is like, haha, here are 20 Mutalisk, you know?
This is really scary for viOlet, though. He's getting pushed back all the way to his base.
Is bad.
Tried to put up a fourth as well.
I would love to see him try to go for that fort. Right now, it's unlikely that viOlet was going to really commit to keeping that fort alive because of the Mutalisk. Snute should be able to
go up.
He should be able to get it. I really think Snute will be able to get a cancel on this base. viOlet is going to try to fight, but he still doesn't have any anti-air here.
No, he doesn't, and Corrosive Bio's dropping down only one from Snute there, but takes out the fourth, and now he's got an army fighting, and he's got Mutas on top of his.
The game sense in this game was absolutely amazing for Snute. Like you said, throwing up those Spines before the Roaches even made it across the map. He tacked up very quickly. viOlet did not scout it. He tried with Lynx, but they all got sniped, and Snute is just right now in a phenomenal position.
Oh, wow. Bile your own Muta, it's okay, they regenerate. But you're right, you talked about the Muta count here. So if Snute doesn't recognize this and lets this slip, this could be one way that viOlet could get himself back into this game. Also, I want to mention, Snute with his Roaches and Ravagers, every time his Roach got low health, and he's doing the same thing again, he morphed it into a Ravager. Very, very efficient play by Snute.
It almost seems like Snute is already expecting this, what viOlet is trying to do over here, you know, like overrunning him with Mutalisk, suddenly being surprised, you know, I've got way more Mutalisk than you, because he threw down the Hydralisk then, and he's also throwing down a defensive Spore already. He's going to spot the Mutalisk from viOlet right now for the first time, but he gets another kill indeed on that fort base, and this is starting to look better and better for Snute.
Yeah, Snute's got a great army here. Where are his Mutas? Two very low health Mutas do join the fight, but he's got an overwhelming Roach count with Ravagers behind too. Should be dropping Biles on the army of viOlet here.
This is kind of a big commitment though for Snute. He's going to be able to kill the larva there. Well done, or the cocoons rather. So Snute is going to try to kill a lot of drones here, but the Mutalisk will clean this up. I kind of think that if Snute killed the fort base and he would have backed off, that would have been decent. Instead, he's really committing to it. Gets 11 drones for his efforts, but would you say small overcommitment?
Maybe, but the amount of denied mining that he did there, and also he's got the next step in his play ready. He's going for Queens Hydras, Spores. Also, he's the one with the 4th base now.
Mutalisk are a great comeback unit though, so I don't think that viOlet is down and out yet. He's definitely behind. Look at these links, by the way, working on the sport. That's very well done. The thing is though, yes, Hydralisk are good against Mutalisk, but they're gonna have to bounce around between bases because we all know how quickly Mutalisk can move. But he's actually just gonna jump on top of the Hydralisk.
That was a really ballsy play, and I'm not sure if he actually should have even committed to that more, because that was one of his only chances to really take out this army. And once you get rid of the anti-air with Mutas, then you just bounce around.
Yep, but look at this counterattack again. Snute trying to make something happen with a few more roaches.
I don't think that's enough roaches to take down this 4th. There's Mutas coming back now. But a nice move into the 3rd here. Kills the Queen, will deny injects, and he will get quite a few drone kills here.
Yep, I mean, I still think this is a solid counterattack, and it also gives Snute some room to breathe, and I think that's very important. Because you don't want to be chasing a whole bunch of Mutalisk with 5, 6, 7 Hydralisk, because that's when you take the risk that they maybe are out of position, you lose a couple. Right now, Snute said, alright, take these 7 roaches, I'm going to build up my Hydralisk count, and that's exactly what he did. And viOlet, how is he supposed to fight all these Mutalisk? He doesn't have Banelings, he doesn't really have roaches himself anymore. I have no idea how viOlet is supposed to deal with all these Hydras.
They also have 2-0, Kevin, so they're going to deal a lot of damage to these Mutalisks. And Mutalisks, they're not an army you want to be fighting straight up against, especially not against Queen and Hydra. He's doing a really good job of trying to delay this and actually takes out all the Queens here.
That is nice, but it doesn't change the fact that there's still a whole bunch of Hydralisks about to show up in his 3rd base. He is indeed morphing Banelings, but these Banes wouldn't even have speed. He does not have the upgrade. He's going to be forced to cancel it as well. Snute is going to be able to take out this game, or this hatchery rather, and that puts him in a very good position to move on to the semi-finals, where Snute will face either a Laser or Hydra.
He's bouncing around with those Mutas and the Banelings do more, but look at this wall that Snute's made at the top of the ramp with roaches. Really good play. Got to be careful moving up this ramp. He is ahead right now, doesn't want to throw it, but these Banelings, they don't get good connections. Snute splitting his Hydras, great concave at the bottom of the ramp, and GG. Snute takes it 3-1. Huge smile on his face.
Well-deserved smile as well. Snute looking really good in this ZvZ series, man. Looked a little rough. Game number 1, like dropped Arena rather quickly. Game 2 went for a very aggressive build, worked out, and after that it was just really good. I think Prime Terraces was a very strong game, and this game as well. You know, if you're a Zerg player, you can just take notes of it. You know, this was awesome. He skipped link speed, did have the defensive Baneling Nest, went up to the Spire, got map control with it, took out the 4th base, and just capitalized on it over and over again. And from that point on, he was just very far ahead.
First game, he got kind of overwhelmed, and yes, the Roach Warren might have been a bit late, but from then on, Snute was mind-gaming his opponent, but also playing it exceptionally well. Prior and Terrace, he was ahead all the way, even talking about how he divided his workers. Just a really great job by Snute.
Yep, awesome to see Snute advance to the semi-finals. He's on stage with Paul, and I can't wait to hear what he has to say.
Thank you very much, Kevin. Yes, with Snute, congratulations. You look relieved. You look relieved, and I know that you are relieved, but it seems every game that you've played this week, less nerves have come in, more reliefs come in, and more confidence has come, and here you are now in the semi-finals.
Yeah, well, the first match in this event was the most brutal one because it's all or nothing, you know. So once I was able to advance the first round, I was able to relax a lot more, and I think it's nice because I can show a little bit better gameplay then.
How much better was this? How much closer do you think we've seen the real Snute in this match?
I think I played almost better than I do in practice right now, honestly. So this was a really good series by me, I think.
Okay. I also wanted to ask, just how much help have you had this week, having the other Team Liquid guys around you? Because I know you all talk and you all chat and you kind of try and pick each other up when you're down and what have you. How much have they helped?
We always help each other a lot. You know, the game means a lot to us. So when we don't perform as we would like, you know, we have very high standards. So when things don't go our way, we get a little bit disappointed. But of course, we always help each other. So you know, mental support is always there when you're on Team Liquid.
That's good to hear. One final question. Semi-finals tomorrow in the Spodek Arena. You've played there before. It's such a fantastic event to be in, but such a high-profile match now. Have you got any preference on the player that you play in the end?
No, I feel like I've already outperformed my current shape in Legacy, so I'm very happy. But of course, I want to win.
Just sneak one more in. 2 more matches. Okay, Jens. 2 more wins. Guaranteed spot at BlizzCon. Is it starting to play on the mind?
I'm not thinking about BlizzCon. I think if I keep improving in Legacy, then I think I'll make it to BlizzCon no matter what. But yeah, I'm just gonna play my best, and we'll see. We'll see.
Okay. I get the impression that he's quietly confident. Ladies and gentlemen, Snute is your winner. And with that, we'll head back to the desk and find out what the analysts made of the Snute victory.
A brilliant victory for him, and he finds himself in the semi-finals, finds himself of high standards playing in the Spodek tomorrow. A wonderful display of skill. Confidence is a big word we have to talk about in a couple of moments by Snute, and he's done it. He's got to a really, really important stage of this tournament.
The next one.
The next
which is very important as tournaments go. The first Korean scalp. viOlet is gone. Well played, Snute. Like I said, he's made a career out of this. And also, like I said, the confidence is a huge factor here. And he's, you can see it in his face. He's smiling. He's saying thank you.
You can see it in the face, can't you?
You can.
Yeah.
Confidence face.
And
Yeah, the confidence face. He's got a pretty good confidence face, actually. I liked it.
The Snute struggle has been a real one for quite some time now, if we're going to be honest. I mean, this is before Legacy of the Void has even been released. It was towards the end of last year when he started to pick up a lot of disappointing results, to what he would say. But to see him smiling on stage, to see him performing better than we've seen him in a while, this is a massive boost for his potential finish in this tournament, no matter who he faces next.
Yeah, it's been kind of like each win brings a new level of relief, I would say, and taking top 4 is already a pretty good result. He knows that. Even if he gets brutalized in the next stage, and of course it's not the way his mind works, but it is something in the back of his mind where it's like, I've done good. So if I can win and go to the finals, that's only doing better. And he kind of said it himself too, the format of this tournament is if you win that first round, the rest of them are less stressful than the first because of how steep that is. And that whether that was intended or not, it's just a fact of life. So it's nice to see him happy, and it's nice to see the good results for the guys that are really putting in work. Nobody is ever going to say anything else about Snute than that he's a hard worker and he's been around for a while. He's doing a great job.
Many years of dedication to the game, and like he said in the interview, he loves the game. The entire of the 32 players that are here do, and it's pleasing when you get some results from it, knowing how much time they put into it. So it's a big moment for Snute, of course, to get to the top 4, be playing against the winner of our next series, which is going to be either a Laser or Hydra. Difficult one, no matter what.
Another Zerg.
Another tell us towards the end
It's
of
got
the
to be
day.
another ZvZ. And he did just show pretty fantastic ZvZ. That's what we were talking about, Is viOlet going to stand up to the ZvZ of Snute, or is he going to fall off? Is he going to
The answer is no.
being on fire?
viOlet's been eliminated. So
he's
The answer
He
turned
did
out
not
to be
stand
no.
up to it.
So
Yeah.
I'm actually really confident for Snute against either of those players. Doesn't matter if it's Hydra or Laser. I think I would probably favor him going into that matchup.
It's great for him now to be able to sit back as well, put his legs up and be like, all right, let's watch you two play because I'm going to be playing the same matchup against you tomorrow. Let's have a look at your strengths and weaknesses from both sides here. And then, of course, the partnership with TLO can obviously assist in this. It's a decent position to be standing in for sure.
Yeah. He's got to be feeling good about it. I mean, Red Eye kind of asked it about it. He's like, you look good, you feel good. And he said, yeah, and I believe it. So I like his chances. I have to agree with Spicy Salmon over there. I do think.
Spicy Salmon Fingers, I think was the...
that was
It's like the next
arguable
evolution.
improvement.
Yeah. Just call me Mr. Fingers. It's good.
Mr. Fingers to people that don't know him personally. Show some respect.
A little bit of a disappointing performance from viOlet to be finishing in top 8. I'm sure he would have wished for a lot more. And something you can highlight as maybe a potential weakness and error is that he's lost his last 2 tournaments versus Zerg. First it was our dear friend Bly at DreamHack, and now Snute at this one. So it's definitely a point of focus for future events for him, no doubt.
We'll talk about standards too. It's funny because we had all 3 of them, viOlet, Hydra, and Polt, the Koreans. Of the 32 players, they're all up there. And anything short of a win is disappointing. And it's kind of it seems like it's a bit of a new era where we're having a lot more non-Koreans to perhaps disrupt their runs. We'll have to see how Polt and Hydra do.
Yeah.
But it is funny. I don't disagree with you. It's like, viOlet, that's disappointing. Top 8 or whatever. He had like a really good run, but it's for him, it's a disappointment. So we'll have to see how he recovers.
All right, well, thank you very much, gentlemen. We're going to go to a very quick commercial break. Want to thank the sponsors, of course, before we do so, thescoreesports.com and plays.tv, where you can find highlights of all the matches across all the games here at the Intel Extreme Masters. And here's a sneak preview for our next one with a Laser versus Hydra. A Laser is confident and thinks that he's going to win. He told me that on his way to the bathroom just now. There's some info. We're going to go to a quick break. When we return, the last game of the evening, the last quarterfinal.
If your PC